Many Magic the Gathering players ask the question, is it worth it to attend a Tarkir Dragonstorm pre-release event? Yes, it absolutely is worth it. Pre-release events are some of the best events you can participate in Magic the Gathering, and Tarkir Dragonstorm, without a doubt, might be the best set of the year. And I'm just so excited for this set. Pre-release is always a great time, but the pre-release for Tarkir Dragonstorm, to get to go into your local game store and play with these cards before anyone else, that's going to be especially exciting. This set's designers have managed to both capture what made the original Cons of Tarkir block special, while also introducing new, exciting, and flavorful mechanics that make a new set feel fresh, that justify a return to familiar territory. And so yeah, Tarkir Dragonstorm pre-release at your local game store is an event you won't want to miss. This video will cover everything you need to know to succeed in Tarkir Dragonstorm pre-release, whether you're a new player or you've played at a pre-release in the past. Pre-release events are a form of sealed tournaments where you receive a pre-release kit containing 6 sealed packs of the newest set as well as 1 promo card. Using this kit and as many basic lands from your local game store's basic lands station as you'd like, you'll build a deck of 40 cards to battle against other players who also built decks out of their pre-release kits. Pre-release events are absolutely worth it. A fantastic experience for new and established players alike. If you have not already done so, check with your local game store to find out what days and times its pre-release events are being held at. This video assumes that you already know how to play Sealed, and will focus instead specifically on how to play and win at your Tarkir pre-release. If you are brand new to Sealed or you have never once played at a pre-release before, or maybe you just want a refresher on how Sealed works, check out my recently updated Guide to Sealed video here. Especially good if you have a friend that you're bringing along who is brand new to Sealed or pre-release. So be sure to give that video a watch, but in this video, I'll be talking in depth about Tarkir Dragonstorm, including the mechanics for each clan, the synergies between the different clans, how to ensure you cast all your spells consistently, and what kinds of cards you should be sure to include in your deck should you open them in your pool. We have got a lot to cover today, so let us begin right away. The Clans of Tarkir. Tarkir Dragonstorm is essentially a guild set, a kind of limited environment built around a set of clearly defined color combinations. At your pre-release event, you'll get to choose a kit that corresponds to one of the 5 clans of Tarkir: Temur, Sultai, Abzan, Mardu, and Jeskai. Each of these clans consist of a different combination of 3 colors, and the pre-release kit you receive will correspond with your chosen clan, which means your kit will contain 5 normal booster packs of Tarkir Dragonstorm and 1 seeded pack specific to your clan. This seeded pack will have the same rarity breakdown of a typical booster pack, but all the cards in this seeded pack will correspond to your chosen clan. Mind you, this does not mean that you have to build a deck in the colors of your chosen clan. Far from it. It just means building a deck in that color combination will be easier than doing so in another color combination. But let's be real, you chose the clan you chose because you went into the pre-release hoping to build a deck in those colors. So while it's not mandatory to build a deck in that clan, we all know that you're going to do so anyway. Before you open your pre-release kit, it's important to know a bit about the cards you're going to see as you go through your packs. That means taking a cursory look at the new mechanics in the set and how those mechanics fit into the different color combinations you may end up in. Let's discuss mechanics. Each of the clans of Tarkir has its own brand new mechanic, though some of these mechanics are reminiscent of prior mechanics, just with a new name. There are also 2 additional new mechanics that are not affiliated with a particular clan, but rather with a particular card type. Dragons! We're talking dragons, baby! Let's take a quick look at each of the new mechanics before diving deeper into the Tarkir Dragonstorm limited environment. The 2 dragon-centric mechanics are Behold and Omen. Behold is a newly keyworded mechanic which actually first was introduced in the original Tarkir block, only without a keyword. To behold a dragon, either choose a dragon you control or reveal one from your hand. Behold spells are usually above rate spells when you behold a dragon, and only slightly below rate spells when you don't behold a dragon, meaning there's very little downside to running them in your deck. Because the fail case on these cards, not being able to behold a dragon, is still pretty good, you shouldn't try to go overboard on putting dragons in your deck. If you have at least 4 dragons in your pre-release deck, you'll be able to behold one of them pretty frequently. Omen is a mechanic that appears on certain dragons in the set. It's templated similarly to the adventure mechanic originally from Eldraine, but the distinction between the two mechanics makes for a significant difference in how they play out. You can cast either side of an Omen dragon just as you would an adventure spell, but if you cast the Omen side, you'll shuffle the card into your deck when it resolves, rather than put it into the adventure zone to cast later. This means, unlike adventures, Omen spells are not natural 2-for-1s. They're more like traditional split cards. For those of you playing Temur, the mechanic for your clan is Harmonize, which works like Flashback, except that you can tap a creature as an additional cost to reduce the Harmonize cost by that creature's power. All natural Harmonize spells in the set are sorceries, though the sweet new Temur rare, Songcrafter Mage, can give instance Harmonize as well. Harmonize is just about as powerful and limited as Flashback always was, which is to say extremely very powerful. That said, many Harmonize costs are overcosted to account for the cost reduction clause, so Harmonize spells are practically a little worse than Flashback for that one reason. The Sultai clan's mechanic is Renew, a creature ability that's reminiscent of Scavenge from Return to Ravnica. To use a creature's Renew ability, pay the mana cost and exile the card from your graveyard. Many Renew abilities are not that exciting on their own, but the mechanic is still good because it usually comes attached to creatures that your opponents will be reluctant to remove. And of course, as with any graveyard-based mechanic, Renew provides some additional value if you happen to mill a Renew card during any instances of self-mill. The Abzan clan's mechanic is Endure, a really powerful mechanic that encourages you to identify whether you're better off going wide or going tall. To endure, either put a number of +1/+1 counters on the enduring creature equal to its endure number, or make an XX spirit token, where X is the endure number. A good rule of thumb for choosing between adding counters or making tokens with endure is that going tall helps break board stalls and puts more immediate pressure onto your opponent, while going wide helps play around your opponent's removal spells. Mobilize is Mardu's mechanic in Tarkir Dragonstorm. Creatures with Mobilize create a number of 1/1 warrior tokens equal to their Mobilize number when they attack. These tokens sacrifice themselves on your end step, but you can also sacrifice them post-combat for value. There are a couple of ways to get the most out of your mobilized tokens. You'll want to find ways to get them safely through combat, such as by using combat tricks. Not only do these tricks give your tokens extra value by making them hit harder, but the threat of casting a combat trick will also make your opponents afraid to block your tokens. This makes it especially important to not cast spells pre-combat if you're piloting a mobilized deck, so that you can represent tricks in combat. The Jeskai clan's keyword mechanic is Flurry, which is a renamed version of an ability we actually saw in Outlaws of Thunder Junction. You trigger Flurry when you cast your second spell in a turn. Obviously, the simplest way to trigger Flurry is with cheap spells, but you can also do so with mana generators and cost reducers. When piloting a Flurry deck, you'll need a steady flow of cards in order to consistently trigger Flurry every turn. Cantrips are the best way to do this, but Harmonize helps as well. You can also look for ways to bounce your own permanents, such as the Dragonstorms that return to your hand when a dragon enters play. Color pairs, inter-clan synergy. Although Tarkir Dragonstorm is technically a 3-color set, if you look closely at the different things you can do in the format, it's actually a 2-color set. Each clan in Tarkir features 2 enemy color pairs. In other words, a color pair made up of non-adjacent colors in the WUBRG color wheel. Sultai is a 3-color wedge made up of Simic and Golgari, for instance, while Jeskai is a 3-color wedge made up of Boros and Izzet. Each of these enemy color pairs are therefore affiliated with 2 clans. Golgari, or black-green, is found in both Sultai and Abzan. Boros, or white-red, is found in both Jeskai and Mardu, etc. The brilliance of Tarkir Dragonstorm Limited is that the designers of the set found a way to intricately weave together gameplay features between 2 clans that share an enemy color pair. Both blue-green clans, Temur and Sultai, have mechanics that feature the graveyard. Both black-green clans, Sultai and Abzan, have mechanics that feature +1/+1 counters. The black-white clans, Abzan and Mardu, both make tokens. The white-red clans, Mardu and Jeskai, are both aggressive. And the blue-red clans, Jeskai and Temur, both care about casting spells. These color pair similarities are displayed mechanically in the cycle of 5 enemy color sieges, rare modal enchantments that give you an ability tailored toward one or the other of the 2 clans that touch that color pair, which allows you to pick whichever one is most useful for the current board state. 4 of the 5 of these sieges are powerful and inherently flexible cards that are worth including in your deck if you end up in that color pair. But Glacierwood Siege is the exception. The Sultai mode on Glacierwood Siege is not a very impactful limited mechanic. The Temur side is fine, but not a reliable enough kill condition to be worth including in your deck. In practice, these enemy color synergies mean you'll get a lot of mileage out of approaching this format by building around a 2-color pair as your 2 primary colors and merely splashing a 3rd, or potentially even 4th color to augment what the primary color pair offers you. Mana fixing and splashing. As this is a 3-color set, mana fixing is even more valuable than it is in a normal limited environment, as is knowing how heavily to splash your 3rd color based on the amount of fixing in your deck. There is a lot more playable mana fixing in this set than a typical limited environment, with 4 complete cycles of mana fixers at low rarities, the gain lands and filter creatures at common, and the untyped tri-lands and monuments at uncommon. Of these, I want to highlight the filter creature and monuments in particular, as these are new designs for Tarkir Dragonstorm Limited. The filter creatures are all templated as clan, devotee, and can filter for one of their clan's mana once per turn by paying 1 generic mana. We've seen filter creatures like this before, but never one specific to a color combination, and certainly never ones as powerful as these. Simply put, all the devotees are good creatures to include in your deck if you end up in their color combination. I especially love the Mardu devotee, as it's one of the cheapest of the 5, and the card selection it provides for just 1 mana is an excellent upside attached to its decent stat line. And of course, mana fixing. The monuments have a similar nomenclature: clan, monument. These are 2 mana artifacts that tutor for a basic land of the clan's color identity when they enter play. Later in the game, the monuments are also a mana sink that you can cash in for a creature token, or multiple creature tokens, that correspond with the clan's identity. In pre-release especially, these cards are very good. I would be happy to run the first 2 copies of my chosen clan's monument in my deck. You can also use the monuments to splash a bomb in one of the adjacent clan's colors. This bears repeating. Even though this is a 3-color set, you should prioritize 2 colors for your deck and only splash the 3rd color for whichever clan you choose. That means you shouldn't run many, if any, cheap creatures in your splashed color if you can avoid it, as relegating your splashed color to higher up your mana curve will take a lot of pressure off your mana base. Granted, you'll have a heavier splash in this set than you would if you splashed a 3rd color in a normal limited set, but it's important to still conceptualize the 3rd color as a splash, not a main color. Ideally, no more than 25% of the non-land cards in your deck should be your tertiary color. In other words, no more than 6 cards of your splashed color. You should also certainly try to avoid double-pipped cards in your tertiary color. If you want to very lightly splash a bomb rare in a 4th color and you have the requisite fixing, you can do so. But I'd only do this if you have 2 or 3 free sources of fixing, that is, gain lands, tri-lands, and monuments of your splashed 4th color, as well as a bomb powerful enough that it's worth making your mana base worse. I'll talk about a few bombs that fall into that category in just a moment. Lastly, it's possible to draft a 5-color deck in this format, particularly if your pre-release pool has a lot of dragons and plenty of mana fixing. I do not advise attempting to do this if you are new to Limited, but I'd be remiss not to mention that the 5-color dragons deck is a supported archetype in Tarkir Dragonstorm. If you do try to build this deck, you'll want to be base Sultai, as this will give you the best mana fixing, card draw, and interaction to support you as you get your mana online to cast your big dragons. And you really will need plenty of good removal, such as the Exhale Behold spells. The best of these is Caustic Exhale, but really all 5 of them are solid removal spells in a dragon deck. Cards to watch out for. Now for the most fun part of the video, let's talk about the best cards of the set. You are going to look at a minimum of 7 rares and mythics when you open your pre-release kit, but you'll also likely open some premium commons and uncommons as well. In this section, I'll highlight a few of the best cards in each color for each rarity so you're better prepared for building your deck. Let's begin with white. White looks to be one of the deeper colors in Tarkir Dragonstorm Limited, with 3 phenomenal rares and several valuable role players at lower rarities, from value creatures like Salt Road Pack Beast and Way Speaker Bodyguard, to strong interaction like Storm Plane Detainment and Coordinated Maneuver, the latter of which works great with mobilized tokens. The best white bombs at rare are Sage of the Skies and Anafenza Undying Lineage, 2 powerful 3-mana creatures that will almost always be 2-for-1s. At Mythic, Elspeth Stormslayer is a phenomenal planeswalker whose static ability means she creates 2 bodies every time she upticks, and her other 2 abilities are pretty good as well. Taking a look at blue, my first evaluation is that it might be one of the weaker colors in Tarkir Dragonstorm Limited, but there are still some great cards at both high and low rarities. At common, Dirger Island Dragon is a lot like the underrated Lord of the Rings common, Hythlian Knots, except with the added flexibility of sometimes offering you a big dragon instead. Blue has a fair number of value creatures of its own, from creatures that generate additional bodies or cards, like Wingblade Disciple and Sibsig Appraiser, to creatures that bounce or stun your opponent's creatures, like Ice Ridge Serpent and Constrictor Sage. At rare, Morong River Regent is a stone-cold bomb. Both modes on this rare dragon are great cards to put in your deck in Limited, so getting the flexibility to choose between either mode makes this a phenomenal card. Black looks like a solid color in Tarkir Dragonstorm Limited. Caustic Exhale is one of the best removal spells in the set, especially if you have a few dragons in your pool to behold. But even when you're not beholding a dragon, 2 mana to give a creature -3/-3 is a perfectly acceptable rate for a removal spell. Alesha's Legacy is another card to value highly, especially in a mobilized deck. Anytime your opponent puts a valuable blocker in front of one of your tokens, and you cast Alesha's Legacy on that token, it'll be a massive blowout. And don't underestimate Whale of War. An instant speed Shrivel looks great in this format, but having the option to buy back 2 creatures from your graveyard is an excellent backup option on the card. At rare, Karsi Revenant and Scavenger Regent are both phenomenal flying threats that provide additional upside and flexibility. I'd be thrilled to open either card in my pre-release kit. It should come as no surprise that red is a fairly aggressive color in Tarkir Dragonstorm Limited, and while there are multiple great removal spells in red at low rarities, the best of them is definitely Molten Exhale, another great behold spell. Seize Opportunity is also a nice flexible combat trick / card advantage split card. At uncommon, Equilibrium Adept is a great 2-for-1 creature that hits hard if you're able to consistently trigger Flurry, which, of course, its built-in card advantage helps you achieve. At rare, Cory Steel Cutter is an excellent token generator equipment that will be hard for your opponent to answer. And Tersa Light Shatter is a great hasty threat that grinds well in the late game once you reach threshold. Green has a variety of great cards, including at common Sagu Wildling, a nice lay of the land effect that doubles as a life-buffering dragon if you don't need to tutor for another land. Desut Earth Carver and Inspired Vanguard are great Endure creatures that both fortify your defenses and put a lot of pressure on your opponents. Dragon Sniper isn't just a keyword soup card. It's a fantastic blocker in the format that also pokes in for damage and pairs very well with any of the bite and fight removal spells in the format. Many of the green rares are underwhelming, but I love Bloomvine Regent. It can be a ramp spell early, but its creature mode is far and away the best thing it offers. A potent, evasive threat that also gains you life. There are also a lot of great multicolor cards in Tarkir Dragonstorm, but out of all of them, my absolute favorites at low rarities are Kishla Skimmer, Jeskai Shrinekeeper, and Sonic Shrieker. These cards are all great flying creatures that generate some amount of card advantage, often when they come down. All 5 of the Spirit Dragons are phenomenal bombs in the set that you should be thrilled to include in your pre-release deck. You might even consider splashing an adjacent clan's Spirit Dragon if you happen to open one in your pool, such as splashing for Baitor kin to all in a Sultai deck. Lastly, Ugin, Eye of the Storms is well worth its hefty mana cost, as it exiles your opponent's scariest threat and can be combined with the monuments or any of the other artifacts in the set to pick off additional threats that your opponents have in play. And there you have it, everything you need to know to succeed at your Tarkir Dragonstorm pre-release event. Tarkir Dragonstorm is such an awesome set, exactly the kind of set I would love Wizards of the Coast to make more of. And you know, if you agree with me, then the best way to show Wizards of the Coast that you love this set is to make this set a success. Showing up to your local Tarkir Dragonstorm pre-release won't just be a ton of fun, though it will be a ton of fun. It'll make it more likely that we see more sets like Tarkir in the future. But either way, I do hope very much this video has been of some help to you. Remember, if you're brand new to pre-release and sealed, we have a new player's guide that's been recently updated right here. Watch this or show to a friend that you're bringing along to your local game store. And if you want to see Tarkir Standard in play, check out our newest episode of Shuffle Up and Play, in which we play Tarkir Standard. That video is linked over here in the eye or whatever, or in this video's description. And of course, remember, you cannot play at a pre-release at Target or Walmart or Amazon, so when it is possible and when it is reasonable to do so, whether you're buying packs or accessories, try and spend that money where you spend time playing this great game, and that is at your local game store. You're supporting your Magic community when you do.
Next time on Shuffle Up and Play.
What's up? It's Shuffle Up and Play. Today, Allie Beardsley, Jesse Robkin, and Spice 8 Rack, but we have a deck for it designed to delight and terrify.
I'm beside myself with terror.
This is your commander.
You son of a bitch.
Add a counter here. Don't read into the fact that I'm using a D20 to keep track of the counters.
Tap 5 for Thrumming Stone.
No!
So-
Wait, how is that gonna work in this?
Oh, Hatsune Miku! She made Magic the Gathering.
Through the magic of editing, I will determine what I'm keeping, and watch this. And then we're just gonna say, I don't give a Urza at this point.
You leave that in?
Please keep that in. Please keep that in.